Part 67. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 661. Excuse me, my three lords, when your devourer leader comes here, if he disagrees with our agreement, can you help us plead for mercy? The survivor of the Sky-Cover tribe looked at the three nest guards and asked. When they were discussing before, someone had questioned this agreement. Because even if the devourers didn't intend to agree to them first, and then after knowing their secrets, they would tear up the agreement and kill their entire tribe here while all their tribesmen were here. If the supreme leader they mentioned at the end disagrees with their agreement, they will still be exterminated in the end. In other words, if they follow this agreement, the possibility of their race continuing is still small. But looking at the expressions of the three nest guards, they know that, just like them, the three devourer nest guards have now reached their bottom line. If they don't agree, they will definitely die here. Although they are ready to die, it would be better if they can survive. At worst, I can just agree to it first, and then tell the tribe members about the agreement when I return to them. Then we can study it together. If they disagree, they won't come back anyway. So, the survivor of the Sky-Cover tribe asked the question just now. I've said this before. We can't change the will of our leader. What we can do is to tell him about the agreement between us. As for the rest, only he can decide. We have no right to interfere. The one who answered was number 13. He was already a little impatient, so he frowned and said. Your time is up. Tell us what you decide immediately. Okay. We agree. Seeing that number 13 seemed to be about to take action, the survivor of the Sky-Cover tribe was startled and said quickly. But when all our tribe members come here, you have to provide us with food. This is their biggest dilemma at the moment. Without food, they are almost starving to death. Otherwise, they would not risk cooperating with the devourer. Food. This time even number 12 frowned. Our food is you. What kind of food do you want us to provide you? No, no, no. What I mean is that there is food we need in those 6 cities. As long as you break through their cities, you can give us their food. The survivor of the Tianzhou tribe said hurriedly. Okay. I agree. Tell us quickly. What is your method that can help us break the city? Tell us now. The survivors of the Tianzhou tribe were stunned. They discussed whether to go back and report to their tribesmen first, and then everyone decided together whether to complete this agreement with the devourers. Nonsense. We have to break through these cities as soon as possible. How can we wait for you to go back and bring people over? Number 13 was furious and looked at them coldly and said. Tell us your method now, and then go back and bring your tribesmen over, and we will abide by our promise, otherwise our promise will no longer be valid. The survivor of the Tianzhou tribe looked back at the other 7 people. The 7 people looked at each other and nodded helplessly. There is no other way. Even if they hide, they will starve to death. Even if they kill some of the old and weak tribesmen and use them as food, they can't last long. Although this agreement is not the most ideal, it is still within their bottom line after all, and it is barely acceptable. Since they want to know now, then just be straightforward and tell it out. Anyway, there must be a few of them among the 200,000 people. Okay. Our method is where we are hiding now. There is a complicated tunnel there. With the consent of others, the survivor of the Tianzhou tribe finally told their secret. That is the underground tunnel that our 2 tribes dug together for who knows how many years. The interior is complicated. Hearing this, number 13 frowned again. He was not interested in listening to the process of digging the underground tunnel. He just wanted to know how this tunnel would help them break through the 6 cities. Seeing the expression of number 13, the survivor of the Sky Clan quickly got to the point. Our tunnels can lead directly to the 2 cities closest to here. Now they mainly rely on long-range firepower to fight you. You can attack on the ground to attract their attention, and enter the two cities through the tunnels under the two-sided attack. They will definitely not be able to hold on. The three nest guards looked at each other, and then communicated through consciousness, and they all felt that this method seemed feasible. Through the previous battles, they have discovered that none of the survivors on this continent have reached the strength of a level 5 creature. They are all level 4 creatures, so the loss of their troops now is suppressed by their powerful long-range firepower. In addition to the mutual support between their 6 cities, this is the main reason for the current stalemate in the war. If the tunnel they talked about really existed and could enter 2 of the cities through the underground, then it would really be possible to directly attack those 2 cities. Once 2 of the 6 cities are breached, their joint defense will no longer be as perfect as before. It will be relatively simple to breach the other 4 cities. In particular, after conquering 2 cities, the morale of the survivors in the other 4 cities will undoubtedly be huge. Thinking of this, Number 12 nodded without hesitation and said, "Okay. We will send people to follow you to see the tunnel you mentioned. If it really exists and can reach the other 2 cities as you said, then our agreement will be achieved." The 8 people from the 2 tribes looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. However, now that they were riding a tiger, they did not dare to change their words. They could only take one step at a time. "Okay then. We will return with your people right away. I hope you will keep your promise." The survivor of the Tianzhou tribe who told the secret of the tunnel before said, and then took the lead to walk out. Of course, the tunnel is real, and it can indeed lead to the 2 cities they mentioned. Therefore, in the end, the agreement between the Devourers and the Skycover clan and the Zhuhan clan has truly been reached. After bringing all the survivors of the 2 races hiding underground to the Devourer, and transferring 200,000 of them to a city previously promised by the Devourer, both the Tianzhou tribe and the Zhuhan tribe sent out their own tribesmen, leading the Devourer army underground, and began to march towards the 2 cities. On the ground, the Devourers also launched an attack on one of the cities to attract their attention. It's just that the Devourers will launch attacks in 2 channels at the same time because they also know that these 6 cities have communication connections with each other. Therefore, if they concentrate their forces first and focus on attacking one city, they might discover the tunnels in another city. At that time, the tunnel would be useless, and even the survivors in the city would not have to deliberately block the tunnel. As long as they leave heavy troops in the tunnel, they will not be able to use the tunnel again. In a narrow tunnel, the power of weapons will increase exponentially, which is certainly not what the Devourer wants to see. When the Devourer appeared from behind the survivors who were fighting fiercely with the enemies in front of them, the fall of these 2 cities had become a foregone conclusion. When they received news of the fall of these 2 cities, Augustine and Inovic also learned the reasons for the fall of the cities. When they knew that it was the survivors of the Skycover clan and the Zhuhan clan who led the Devourers through the tunnels and came to the city, contributing to the city from within, they couldn't help but become furious. While cursing the survivors of the Zhuhan clan and the Skycover clan for being stupid and ignorant for actually helping the Devourers attack human cities, they also regretted that they should have killed them all in the first place instead of keeping them alive. They were able to know that the survivors of these 2 races existed. Naturally, the survivors in the 2 fallen cities passed the information to them before they died. The survivors of the 2 races among the Devourers, instead of deliberately hiding their whereabouts, stood in front of them and laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha ha! A bunch of trash, since they dare to drive us away, they must be prepared for our revenge. How can such an excellent nation like ours be framed by clowns like you? Now, welcome the wrath of the great Skyshade." When the arrogant voice of a survivor of the Skycover clan reached Augustine's ears through the wired communicator, Augustine directly smashed the communicator in his hand. "Son of a bitch! I should have torn all these bitches into pieces." Augustine's face was livid, he cursed fiercely, and then looked at the officers standing behind him. "Contact Inovic immediately and tell him that 2 cities have fallen, Our joint defense has been destroyed, and we must now concentrate on one city immediately. Remember. Tell Innovic. We have to move quickly. Before they have completely captured those two cities and have no time to take care of us, everyone must complete the transfer. If it is late, it will be too late. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 662. Innovica's decision was certainly correct, because since 2 of the 6 cities had been breached, the previous 6-pointed star joint defense was useless. Rather than being trapped in those cities and being defeated by the Devourer army one by one, it would be better to concentrate all the people in one city. Moreover, they had considered the possibility of the city being breached before, so they built a more solid defense position around the 2 cities in advance. After the 2 cities were breached, the city that was attacked from both inside and outside was basically annihilated, and almost no survivors could escape. As for the other city, because they saw the Devourer coming out from the inside of the city, they knew that the city could not be saved, so they began to evacuate not long after the battle began. And this retreat order was also issued by Augustine himself. Augustine and Innovic each own one of these 2 cities. Originally, Innovic also ordered the survivors of the breached city to evacuate, but there were also a large number of Devourers outside them, so retreating was basically a fantasy for them. As for the troops coming to support from the 2 cities, the survivors from the city that was also breached by the Devourers that came out of the tunnel were basically wiped out because their retreat was cut off and they had no way to retreat. As for the reinforcements from the other city, most of them were withdrawn. Finally, all the survivors of the North Continent, except for the Tianzhou clan and the Zhuhang clan, all withdrew to a city that had been reinforced before. In this battle, they lost more than 5 million survivors in total, and this was because the survivors retreated in time and Augustine's response was quite accurate. Otherwise, if they were trapped in their own cities at the beginning, they would probably be defeated one by one in a short time. Even now, the situation in the North Continent is not optimistic, because they are now all concentrated in one city, isolated and helpless. Under the siege of the Devourer army, they had no chance of breaking out, and it was only a matter of time before they perished. However, despite knowing that if they all retreated to a city without external aid, they would eventually be captured, but Augustine still chose to do so. And Innovic also agreed with his approach, because they were not without external aid. As long as that person was still alive, they still had hope. The person who brought them hope was, of course, Wang Feng, and of course, Wang Feng was not dead, but now Wang Feng looked almost dead. He sat cross-legged on the ground quietly, holding the brick in his hand. After such a long time, the brick in his hand still did not disappear, but it looked a few circles smaller, probably less than half the size. Although this brick did not look big, it was much smaller than the energy block created when the Devourer built the wormhole. However, the energy contained in it is indeed extraordinary. It is estimated that Fuxi said at that time that if Wang Feng could absorb all the energy in this brick, it might allow Wang Feng to directly reach the level of level 9. This should be a very conservative estimate. Because now, although Wang Feng is motionless and closes his eyes, he looks like he has no consciousness, but the life fluctuations surging in his body are still much stronger than before he just came. Fuxi looked at a thermometer-like thing on the side. This is used to detect a person's life energy fluctuations. According to this fluctuation, it is easy to know the strength of this person. Now, under the impact of the energy fluctuations emanating from Wang Feng's body, the red line used to indicate the level of energy fluctuations stays between 9 and 10. This means that Wang Feng's biological level has now broken through the 8th level biological level and reached the middle of the 9th level, and is moving towards the 10th level biological level. It seems that the brick has only consumed less than half of it now. The remaining energy should be enough for Wang Feng to break through to the level of a 10th level biological level. However, Fuxi, who saw all this, did not seem particularly happy. His face still looked a little worried. Moreover, after taking a look at the thing used to measure life fluctuations and confirming the progress of Wang Feng's strength improvement, Fuxi once again set his eyes on Wang Feng's back. Yes, it was the back. Fuxi's biggest concern now was not Wang Feng's personal strength. He did not know anything about the Devourer, and he did not want to know. That was not the biggest enemy of mankind, but just a war machine cultivated by the cosmic ghost. Even if Wang Feng and his team killed all these Devourers, it would not be of much help to mankind. In Fuxi's eyes, the enemy of mankind was only the cosmic ghost, and such a large number of creatures could not rely on the strength of a single person to resist them. They had already confirmed this before, and even if Wang Feng could reach the 10th level of creatures, he would not be much stronger than the strong men among humans before. Even they all died in the invasion of the cosmic ghost. How much effect could Wang Feng alone have? The only thing Fuxi cares about now is Wang Feng's hair. That's right. Now Wang Feng's hair has reached a length of nearly 1 meter, which is the average length of hair of humans of the same era as Emperor Fuxi. At that time, their hair had not lost its function, and it was still the basis for humans to occupy the 8 galaxies. And now, because of breaking through the shackles in the body, coupled with the influx of a large amount of human life energy, Wang Feng's hair has actually recovered its proper length in such a short period of time. This undoubtedly brought great hope to Fuxi, although it can be seen at a glance that Wang Feng's hair has only recovered its length, and has not recovered its original functions. But at least this is a good phenomenon. Fuxi looked at those people who were still busy condensed by the images, and then looked at the hair behind him, and couldn't help sighing helplessly. Because he abandoned his body, even though he still has such long hair now, this is just his new body designed according to his original image. The structure of his hair is fundamentally different from that of the human race itself, so it will never be possible to restore its function. Looking at Wang Feng's hair, Fuxi was looking forward to it, because he knew that if Wang Feng could really restore the function of his hair, then the glory of the human race would surely reappear in the near future. Looking at the progress of Wang Feng's energy absorption, Fuxi estimated that he would need at least 20 to 30 days to complete this absorption. Because the energy in this brick is closer to the inside, the purer it is, so although it seems that it is almost half gone now, it will take at least 2 to 3 times longer to absorb all the remaining energy. Of course, it is not impossible to wake Wang Feng up in advance. Fuxi can directly interrupt his absorption and wake him up, or use some auxiliary means to speed up Wang Feng's absorption. But Fuxi is obviously not going to do this, even though he knows that there are still many human races outside who are facing powerful enemies. Strictly speaking, they are also Fuxi's descendants and the hope for the continuation of his race. And these people may be being killed by those devourers now. Maybe when Wang Feng wakes up from his deep sleep after more than 20 days, the human race outside has been completely wiped out. But in Fuxi's eyes now, Wang Feng is enough to resist all the human race outside. This is the hope for the revival of the human race. Even if those people outside can survive this war with the Devourers, their planet has been exposed. The cosmic ghost will never let go of any planet where humans live. That vengeful race has now regarded the human race as its biggest enemy. They will not be willing to eradicate all humans from the fish. So, since those human races outside will die sooner or later, Fuxi is certainly unwilling to wake up Wang Feng and save them for them, risking Wang Feng losing the opportunity to wake up his hair. So, when Wang Feng was about to absorb the brick, Fuxi deliberately did not tell him the real time it would take. Now Fuxi refused to use the method that could speed up Wang Feng's absorption, because it was obvious that Wang Feng should have a certain chance to awaken the function of his hair. Although the chance was very small, at least he had hope. Even if there was only a 0.0001% chance, it was still a chance after all. If any method was used to increase Wang Feng's current speed of absorbing human life energy, he would complete his absorption process in advance, and in that case, maybe he could go out in advance and save more humans. But this would reduce Wang Feng's chance of activating his hair function, and if Wang Feng could successfully activate his hair, not only would his strength soar instantly, but he would also have a chance to break through level 10 and reach the realm that only one person in the human race had reached in the legend. At that time, the curse that had imprisoned humans for countless years would also be broken. Fuxi looked at Wang Feng's back and murmured, "Come on. Maybe you are the old guy who predicted a long time ago. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 663. People in the North Continent don't know Wang Feng's current situation, and no one in the Hope Base in the East Continent knows Wang Feng's specific situation. They only know that after Wang Feng returns again, he is said to be able to enter the back of the door that Li Yingning mentioned at the beginning. As for what he can see or what he can get, they don't know. They only know that their current task is to try their best to hold on until Wang Feng returns. However, they clearly feel that today, it seems that the devourer opposite them has suddenly gone crazy. Since dawn today, a large-scale attack has been launched. Moreover, they have directly expanded the battle line, directly expanding the battlefield that originally only had tens of thousands of people at the same time by several times. Are they going to launch a comprehensive general attack on the Hope Base after a few days of tentative attacks? Duan Lei frowned and looked at the big screen. In the past few days, they have eliminated more than 100,000 devourers. Although the Hope Base also suffered a lot of losses, it is at least within an acceptable range. The battle situation was relatively stable, but now it is difficult for Duan Lei to make arrangements. Hope Base is not like the North Continent, and its ammunition is limited. If it were not for the survivors of Tiandu City, who gave all the weapons and ammunition of Tiandu City to Hope Base as a gift when they came, their ammunition might have been used up long ago. In the current situation, if you want to avoid a large number of casualties, you must consume a large amount of ammunition to consume the number of devourers. But in this way, if there is any change in the future, Hope Base will have no trump card. Now the soldiers of the two legions and the survivors who are willing to join the battle have all been on the front line, and even Li Yingning and Sang Xiao have all gone up. Although Li Yingning and Sang Xiao have not made a move until now because they don't want to expose their strength, but with them, at least Duan Lei has a bottom line in his heart. Because Li Yingning saw from the Devourers' attacks in the past few days that these Devourers were not commanded by the Devourers at the commander level, but by the Mother Nest Guards. After all, for the Devourer, no one knows the entire Hope Base, including Wang Feng, better than Li Yingning. It is precisely because of this that Li Yingning brought the three children to the front. They were to guard against the Mother Nest Guards. Moreover, Li Yingning knew that the Mother Nest Guards were related to the upper limit of the Devourer's military strength. Once one died, it meant that the Mother Nest would lose the upper limit of the military strength brought to it by the Mother Nest Guards. Therefore, every Mother Nest Guard was extremely important to the Mother Nest, even more important than him, the Prince. Now that the Mother Nest Guards have been sent out, it means that he is determined to win the Mother Nest on this planet. Li Yingning has told the three children about the strength of the Mother Nest Guards and their attack methods, and also told them that once the Mother Nest Guards appear, they must all obey Li Yingning's command. Because no matter what, Li Yingning's level is higher than the Nest Guard, so although he doesn't have the Eye of Heaven, Li Yingning, like Wang Feng, can also see the location of the Nest Guard's consciousness core. Of course, Li Yingning can also know the other Devourers, but in the battle against the Devourers in the past few days, Li Yingning did not help the soldiers of the Hope Base to remind them of the location of the consciousness core of the invading Devourers. Although that would enable them to kill the invading Devourers more efficiently and reduce the losses of the Hope Base, it would also make the Devourers alert and even feel his presence. Because Li Yingning knew that there were nest guards in the camp of the opposite devourer, he would certainly not reveal this secret so early. If he wanted to expose it, he had to make the other party pay the price of the nest guard. Li Yingning was confident that if the nest guard dared to rush up when the devourers didn't know he existed, he was 100% sure to kill this guy with the cooperation of the 3 children. Of course, Li Yingning didn't know that there were actually 3 nest guards on the opposite side. Because in his impression, it seemed that when attacking a certain planet, the nest had never sent more than 3 nest guards. What's more, this time they had to come here through a wormhole, rather than directly entering the planet from the universe through the atmosphere. Li Yingning was of course aware of the dangers of crossing a wormhole, so in his speculation, the nest was willing to send a nest guard to come here through the wormhole to command the battle, which was already quite bold. If Li Yingning knew that there were a total of 10 nest guards on this planet at this time, he would probably have a clearer understanding of the weight of this planet in the heart of the nest. Li Yingning didn't know there were so many nest guards, and the nest guards certainly didn't know Li Yingning's existence. At this time, number 18 and the other 2 nest guards were staring at the battlefield in front of them. Needless to say, the Devourer army suddenly launched a full-scale attack today, which was naturally No 18's idea. After learning that the hive guards on the other 2 continents had made great progress and were confident that they could defeat their enemies and complete the mission within 10 to 20 days, number 18 was immediately stimulated. In his opinion, although his team has the least troops, they are also dealing with the weakest continent. The other 2 teams did not encounter any accidents, but his side did not make any progress. Don't even mention that he can tell how many days it will take to take down the human base in front of him. Now, for them, whether they can take down the human base in front of them is a problem. If there are also mistakes in the other 2 continents, it's fine, but the problem now is that it seems that only their side feels that the opponent's strength is inconsistent with the previous assessment. If they say this now, it's okay if it's true, but if they made a mistake, then the 3 of them will not be able to raise their heads among the mother nest guards in the future. You know, the lifespan of the devourer is infinite. Unless they lose the replenishment of life energy or are killed by the enemy, they are eternal. Thinking of having to endure the ridicule of other mother nest guards in the long years to come, not only number 18, but also number 17 and number 19, feel quite unwilling. So, when number 18 sent away the small fighter plane, he told him to report to number 7 that everything was going well and it was expected to be taken in about 10 days. After the small fighter plane flew away, number 18 told them his plan. After hearing No 18's plan, although they felt it was a bit risky, number 17 and number 19 finally agreed. Because they didn't want to be looked down upon by their own kind, and if they followed No 18's plan, if it was the strength of the Hope base, it would not exceed their assessment range. Then even if doing so would cause great losses, the points would definitely be able to take down the base. Although they had not explored other places on this continent, they did not believe that there was a place on this continent that could be comparable to the strength of the Hope base. In fact, No 18's plan was very simple, that is, no longer worrying about the loss of troops, directly sending all of the remaining 800,000 devourers. Even the devourer commander, they only kept 2 by their side, and sent all the others to the front line. Moreover, with No 18's insistence, they also extended the battle line a lot. The reason of number 18 is very simple, that is, there are not so many strong men on the opposite side, so once the battle line is extended, they can't take care of it. Such an attack can directly show whether there is hidden strength in the Hope base. However, not long after the Devourer launched the attack, number 18 began to sneer. Because he suddenly found that the firepower of the opposite side suddenly increased, and even the defense line that had rarely used long-range attack weapons before began to use a lot of consumable ammunition to prevent their army from approaching. This was of course Duanlei's order, because Duanlei was unwilling to save ammunition to deal with the subsequent emergencies, and use the lives of the soldiers in the Hope base to fight this wave of invading devourers. In any case, people are always the most important. If the Hope Base suffers too much loss in order to save ammunition this time, even if Duan Lei's choice is proved to be right in the end, he will feel guilty. Lu Feng is right. People like him and Wang Feng are really not suitable for the end of the world. But in any case, Duan Lei still issued an order not to save ammunition, attack with all his strength, and not let the devourer get close. Duan Lei's order just made number 18 mistakenly believe that the Hope Base was indeed pretending before. Now once they attack with all their strength, the other side will not dare to put their people on the city wall and fight with them in close combat. This is of course because the human base in front of them does not have so many strong men. With the current length of the battle line, their strong men can't defend it at all. So now they suddenly burst out with powerful firepower, trying to stop their army from approaching their city wall. Ha 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 ha. Did you see it? They can't pretend anymore, right? Fortunately, we didn't directly report that the assessment was wrong, otherwise, how can we raise our heads in the future? Number 18 pointed to the battlefield in front of him and laughed. Why do I feel something is wrong? Number 17 pointed to the situation on the battlefield, turned around and looked at number 18 and said, Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 664. No 17's words almost choked number 18, who was laughing. He stopped laughing and looked in the direction pointed by number 17. After a while, number 18 looked at number 17 in confusion. Is there anything wrong? Aren't we fighting? No. Number 19, who was standing by, also found the problem at this time. We have suffered too much loss, and the speed of the advance is too slow. If we continue like this, we will lose at least half of our troops when we break through the city wall. The loss is too great. Let's withdraw quickly. Number 18 looked carefully and finally found that although the Devourers attacked all out today, the other side used all firearms for long-range attacks. And they no longer used them sparingly like in the past few days, but instead released the consumption. Bullets were like raindrops, shooting madly at the Devourer army rushing towards them. In particular, the most important reason for the heavy casualties of their Devourer army was that they found that the hit rate of the humans on the opposite side seemed to have suddenly increased. But thinking about their much stronger firepower, it was not surprising that such a situation occurred. In fact, this was really an accident, because during this charge, the Devourers also found that the opponent's firepower was too strong, and they should have shot at their bodies at random. So these Devourers did not move the position of their consciousness cores everywhere. Anyway, they could not see clearly which part of their bodies the bullets were shot at, so they just took a chance. But this time, because it was discovered that the Devourer seemed to have launched a general attack, Li Yingning was no longer silent. Although he was not a human, most of these humans had contact with him and were trained by him, and he did not want these people to lose too much. What's more, the mother nest has not arrived yet. When the mother nest arrives, Li Yingning will still need the power of the Hope Base to help him kill the mother nest. So Li Yingning hid in the dark and carefully observed the Devourers who rushed up. He found that most of the Devourers hid their consciousness cores at the top of their left arms, closest to the shoulders. So, Li Yingning told Duan Lei through the intercom to let those soldiers attack the Devourers' left shoulders as their fatal points. In this way, the soldiers of the two legions and the survivors immediately had a target, but in order to prevent the Devourer from discovering it so quickly, they first randomly shot at several parts of the Devourer, and then shot the bullets with firepower attached to the Devourer's left shoulder. In this way, not only did the people of the Hope Base save a lot of physical strength, because they didn't have to attach power to each bullet as before. And now the casualty rate of the Devourer has also increased significantly, but one is that the Hope Base is very secretive, and the other is that the number of Devourers is too large. So none of the three nest guards found that the Hope Base had already mastered the Devourer's weaknesses. The consciousness core of these devourers is mainly concentrated in three places: the most is the left shoulder, the second is the right side of the waist, and the last is their neck. Li Yingning told Duan Lei about these three weaknesses, and Duan Lei also told the soldiers all of them. However, Li Yingning couldn't mark the specific weaknesses of every devourer, so the soldiers could only attack the left shoulder first. If he was not dead, they would shoot the right side of the waist. If he was still alive, they would directly snipe his neck, which would definitely kill the devourer. Therefore, it was unlikely that the devourer would not suffer heavy casualties this time. After number 19 asked to withdraw the troops, number 17 also nodded in agreement. After all, the original army of more than 900,000 soldiers was now only more than 600,000 soldiers, and the war loss was close to one-third. Although they were about to rush to the city wall, the casualties were also faster. If this continued, I am afraid that what number 19 said just now, that they would lose half of their troops when they rushed to the city wall, was not only not an exaggeration, but also a little less. However, when he heard the two men say they wanted to withdraw, number 18 shook his head and pointed to the battlefield ahead and said, "We can't withdraw. Look, we are almost at the city wall now. It's better to rush to the city wall directly than to withdraw now." Number 17 and number 19 looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. "But, if we withdraw now, as long as we are fast, at least half of us can be left. If we rush to the city wall, if we fail, we may not be able to come back." Number 19 frowned and said, "Yes. We should grasp it. Now even the commander-in-chief has begun to lose. I think it's better to withdraw now. At least there is still a chance." Number 17 also said, "No. Can't withdraw." Number 18 had a ferocious face. "We must rush to the end this time. Humph. They just rely on that kind of long-range weapons. Once they get close, they don't have so many masters to resist our army." Seeing that number 17 and number 19 were still hesitant, number 18 pointed to the battlefield where the killing was going on again. "Well, to be precise, it is the battlefield where the devourers are being killed. Since they have no long-range means of attack, they are currently unable to cause any harm to the survivors of the Hope Base. Look. If we withdraw, we will have less than 500,000 troops left at most. If we launch such an attack again, do you think we can still rush to the city wall? The human race's main means of attack is their powerful long-range weapons. Is the loss of soldiers important to us? All we have to do is complete the mission. If we can't break the space, what's the use of having more soldiers left? If we really withdraw, and we want to attack again, we can only ask for reinforcements. Which of you will go? As long as the space is breached, I don't believe there are human bases like theirs on this continent. So, we must fight hard this time. Even if we kill all these soldiers, we will still win this base. Because there are 3 brood guards here, if number 17 and number 19 really insist on retreating, number 18 will have no way to stop them, so he can only try his best to persuade them." After hearing the words of number 18, number 17 and number 19 looked at each other again, then looked back at the attacking army, and shook their heads helplessly. After this conversation, the Devourer army got closer to the city wall, and of course the losses were greater. If they were to withdraw now, they might not even have 300,000 left. After experiencing so many planets, this was the first time they encountered such a powerful enemy. "Are you sure that as long as we reach the city wall, we can break through the space?" Number 17 asked softly. "In fact, there is no point in asking this question now. If we retreat now, it is better to let them all rush forward and fight." What number 17 wants is just an explanation from number 18. In this way, even if the final attack fails, the responsibility will mainly lie with number 18. After all, it was his persistence that led to their failure. However, From the words of number 17, it can also be seen that he does not seem to be optimistic about this attack. Of course, I am absolutely certain that they do not have enough strength to resist our army. Once they get close, they will be lambs to be slaughtered. Although he understood what number 17 meant, number 18 still replied confidently. He believed in his own judgment. Not to mention the remaining 500,000, even if there are 400,000 or even 300,000 troops left, as long as they rush to the city wall, they will only be annihilated. Don't forget, during our previous attack, they only had tens of thousands of people in contact with us. Now, our front is stretched so long. Once their long-range weapons lose their effect, I wonder what they will use to resist us. Okay. We can't withdraw now anyway, so we might as well take the gamble. I don't think they have the ability to fight us at close range. Number 19 also said. Don't worry. I will take action myself. I will let the masters of the human race take a closer look. In front of me, they can only be food. Since they are food, they must have the consciousness of food. Number 18 looked in the direction of Hope Base and said fiercely. What? Are you going to take action yourself? Number 17 and number 19 were surprised at the same time. You must know that the Brood Guard plays a very important role in the Brood. Even if the armies of Devourers in front of them are all wiped out, it is not as important as a Brood Guard. Without this million-strong army, they would not be punished by the Brood, but if number 18 died here, the two of them would have to bear a great responsibility. Don't worry. I won't go now. I will wait until our army rushes to the city wall and wields the butcher knife at those human beings. Then I will go over and slaughter some strong human beings. No 18's eyes flashed with a crazy look. Humph. This is the first time in a long time that I have encountered a creature that can make us suffer. If we don't kill some properly, I'm afraid it will leave a shadow in my heart. So, in order for me not to be troubled by this failure in the future, I have to take action personally no matter what. I want them to know how terrible the consequences will be of angering a Brood Guard. Then, number 18 looked at number 17 and number 19 and said. You two don't have to stop me. Don't worry. I won't die here. As you can see, even the strongest among them is just a 7th level creature. Even if I am surrounded by them, I will be sure to escape and nothing will happen to me. I will not waste my long life on this planet. Seeing the absolute desperation and madness in No 18's eyes, number 17 and number 19 sighed inwardly, but stopped trying to persuade them. However, they do feel that as long as number 18 does not seek death on his own, it is indeed unlikely that he will die inside. Of course, in his current state, it is really hard to say whether he will seek death on his own. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 665. Time continued to move backwards, and the Devourer army finally approached the city wall. Soon, the Devourer army at the front had already jumped onto the city wall and killed the humans on the city wall. The moment they jumped onto the city wall, the deafening gunfire finally began to stop. After all, the enemy was already in front of them, and the guns had no effect. Ha 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 ha. Human race. Prepare to bear the wrath of the Devourer army. Number 18 jumped up with a wild laugh, and then rushed towards the human base without even saying hello. When the long-range weapons were unleashed just now, number 18 did not dare to rush forward. Wei Yi was unlucky and was targeted by others, and he might also die. But now, the long-range weapons have stopped firing, and now they have entered the stage of close combat. With No 18's own peak 9th level strength, he would not be afraid of the humans in front of him who were only at the 7th level. As he said before, even if he is surrounded, he is absolutely sure to escape. Unless he fights to the death and keeps entangled with them, there is a possibility of his death. Seeing number 18 rushing directly towards the human base, Number 17 and number 19 looked at each other and shook their heads. Then, number 19 was the first to speak. "You stay here, I'll go and take a look. Otherwise this guy will go crazy and fight to the death." Number 17 nodded and said, "Well, go ahead. If you see something bad, just run back with him, and I'll bring the fighter plane over. If something unexpected happens, we'll have to go back to number 7 first." "Okay. Then I'm going." Number 19 agreed, and then flew towards the direction of Hope Base. Looking at his back, number 17 sighed, and then ran towards the fighter plane. This attack on the Hope Base can be said to be the first time that Devourer has suffered a blow from other creatures, and it is also the first time that number 17 has a feeling of whether it can complete the mission. He even had a feeling in his heart that, maybe not being able to win the Hope Base this time would not be the worst ending for them. When they arrived at the spot where the small fighter planes were parked, number 17 couldn't help but look in the direction of the Hope Base again. As a result, this sight made him suddenly shocked. After rushing to the city wall, there were still nearly 500,000 Devourers, but at this time, there were only more than 100,000 left. Are those human beings so powerful? To kill their army of more than 300,000 in such a short period of time? You know, among those Devourers, there are not only the lowest level Devourers like Predators, but there are also tens of thousands of elite Devourers. There were even thousands of commander-level Devourers. They were so powerful, and they even rushed to the opponent's city wall. Didn't number 18 say that they were just bluffing and there weren't actually that many powerful humans? Doesn't it mean that as long as you rush to the city wall, those humans will be the lambs waiting for them to be slaughtered? What the hum is going on? Why did the party being massacred actually become myself, who was originally going to massacre people? They are not bluffing, but they are hiding their strength. They are all strong men at level 6 or 7. A terrifying thought emerged in the core of No 17's consciousness. Oops. Come back quickly. Number 17 suddenly thought of number 18, who rushed forward to kill, and number 19, who went there with him, ready to rescue number 18 at any time. In desperation, he shouted quickly. However, it was already too late at this time, because there was no interference from long-range weapons. At this time, number 18 was already close to the city wall. And because he was full of anger, he was just staring at the strong human beings who were killing the Devourers, without realizing that it was a close combat, and the one being slaughtered was still their Devourers. Number 19, who was following him, obviously noticed this, but after hesitating for a moment, he chased after him and shouted loudly, trying to get number 18 to retreat immediately. Because he knows how important these brood guards are to the brood. If number 18 falls in front of him, then he might also be punished. As the guardians of the brood, they are the highest status members among the Devourers, besides the brood and the prince. Even in the eyes of the brood, their weight exceeds that of the prince. Therefore, in order to protect their own safety, they have the privilege of leaving the army they lead at any time and escaping alone. But that only refers to the commander and the Devourers below the commander. As for the brood guard, they need to be rescued. Of course, this rescue also needs to be on the premise that they can ensure their own safety. Although it sounds contradictory, it is considered that the brood does not want the brood to guard it. Because it saves another one, it involves itself. Not only does it not save that one, but add one more. However, in the long years since the Devourer appeared, there has never been a crisis situation among the Devourer, so the situation mentioned before has never occurred. Now, the situation faced by number 19 can be regarded as the first time. However, even if he suddenly discovered that most of the people in the Hope Base were experts at level 6 or 7, he did not think that he would be in danger of falling. After all, he and number 18 have both reached level 9 strength. No matter how many humans there are at level 6 or 7, it is unlikely that they can be retained as long as they focus on escaping. but the premise is that they are determined to escape. Now, No 18's actions do not show any intention of escaping. So number 19 had no choice but to continue chasing number 18 and trying to bring him back. Because he did not think his life was in danger now, according to the rules given to him by the mother nest, he could not just abandon number 18 and escape by himself. As for the other devourers, as long as they could entangle these humans more and prevent them from attacking them from behind with long-range weapons while they were escaping with number 18, they would have done their best. As for taking down this base, number 19 absolutely dared not think about it now. After confirming that the Hope base did not deliberately exaggerate its strength and try to scare them away, number 19 no longer had any hope for them to take down the Hope base this time. But no one knew that since they had just rushed towards the Hope base, Yi Jingjing had been targeted by 4 people. They were Li Yingning and Shalumi San Xiao, who had been hiding and not taking action. When seeing number 18 rushing towards the Hope base, Li Yingning spotted him immediately because he had been paying attention to the nest guard. Before, because the battlefield had been in chaos and Li Yingning did not dare to release his consciousness to search for the nest guard, he had not found number 18 and his team. Because although those low-level devourers could not sense Li Yingning's existence, the nest guard could. In order to avoid being discovered, Li Yingning had to hide all the time. And because of Li Yingning's order, the 3 children had been hiding in the battlefield and did not expose themselves. So number 18 and his team did not know about Li Yingning and his team. Now that number 18 was discovered, Li Yingning was immediately refreshed. As long as he could kill this nest guard, it would definitely be a big blow to the nest. Although there are a total of 12 nest guards, each one is very important to the nest. Now there is less than half a year before the arrival of the mother nest. Killing this mother nest guard can weaken the mother nest's strength. In such a short time, the mother nest will definitely not be able to breed a new mother nest guard to replace the lost one. It takes more than 1,000 years to breed a mother nest guard. However, just when Li Yingning was about to order San Xiao to lurk in the direction of number 18 and prepare to snipe him, he found number 19 following behind. 2. Li Yingning was shocked. How could there be 2? Does the mother nest not value the mother nest guards so much now? They dared to risk losing the mother nest guards and send 2 through the wormhole? However, for Li Yingning, the more mother nest guards that appear now, the better, because this will allow him to further weaken the power of the mother nest and gain more advantages in future wars. So, Li Yingning immediately asked San Xiao to change direction and head to intercept number 19. As for number 18, Li Yingning was quite confident that if he killed number 18 by surprise, he could at least hold him back and prevent him from leaving. Because number 19 was behind, he was lucky to be taken care of by Yuxian. Because Li Yingning knew that once he took action, he would definitely expose himself. If he killed number 18 first, number 19 would find him and would definitely run away. Although the mother nest was not there now, number 19 could not escape from this planet even if he ran away, but the current situation was unclear. Since 2 mother nest guards appeared, who knew if there was a 3rd one? A 4th one? Or even more? So Li Yingning decided that he would keep both of these mother nest guards and not let any of them go. And at this moment, Li Yingning suddenly discovered that there was another small fighter plane flying quickly behind him. There was actually a 3rd one? Although number 17 was in the small fighter plane and Li Yingning could not see him directly, Li Yingning was the prince of the Devourer and knew everything about the Devourer. As long as he saw the speed of the fighter plane and its movements in the air, Li Yingning could be sure that the pilot inside was also a mother nest guard. 3. It seems that this planet is really not that simple for the mother nest. Li Yingning sneered in his heart, and then picked up the walkie-talkie in his hand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 666. Li Yingning looked at the small fighter plane flying towards them at high speed and said to the intercom. Lu Feng. Did you see that fighter plane? Dispatch 10,000 of the most powerful fire-type mutants. When it enters the attack range, focus on it. Lu Feng heard the voice coming from the intercom and did not dare to neglect it. He stretched out his right hand and clenched it suddenly. The giant sword flying in front of him directly cut off the left shoulder of a devourer elite. Then, the sword suddenly dispersed into countless tiny blades, and the shoulder that was cut off was directly ground into powder. The consciousness core hidden in it was also destroyed. Ignoring the devourer who was slowly falling, Lu Feng quickly retreated into the formation and shouted. The 1st Battalion of the Guardian Corps assemble. Although it was in a chaotic and noisy battlefield, the soldiers who heard Lu Feng's order all repeated Lu Feng's order loudly together. In less than 10 seconds, all the soldiers on the battlefield knew Lu Feng's order. The soldiers of the 1st Battalion of the Guardian Corps had already begun to gather towards Lu Feng when the order spread throughout the battlefield. Although Li Yingning only said 10,000 soldiers, Lu Feng didn't have time to count them now. And although most of the Guardian Corps had fire abilities, there were still some defensive ones. So Lu Feng simply summoned all the people in the 1st Battalion to gather. Since the beginning of the war, Li Yingning has spoken twice, once just now when he revealed the location of the Devourer's consciousness core, and again this time. The first time he spoke, Li Yingning caused the Devourer to suffer heavy losses. The second time, although Li Yingning didn't say what was in the fighter plane. But Lu Feng immediately felt that this fighter plane must be very important to the enemy, so he had to grasp it. What's the point of more people attacking? Anyway, the situation is under control now. If the Devourer doesn't have reinforcements, the Devourer army that launched the attack this time will probably not last even 10 minutes and will be wiped out. Because of Li Yingning, the Devourers lost most of their soldiers before they approached the city wall, especially in the last section near the city wall. Because they knew that the Devourers could no longer retreat at this time, they hoped that the base would no longer cover up and directly attack the 3 locations where the conscious core was hidden. In fact, if number 18 and the others could observe carefully at that time, they would definitely be able to see that something was wrong. However, at that time, although number 18 was staring at the battlefield, he only paid attention to the distance between the Devourer army and the city wall, and when those long-range weapons would stop shooting, so that he could rush up and teach these humans who made him suffer. At this time, number 17 and number 19 were wondering whether number 18 would die here because of a momentary impulse, so none of the 3 mother nest guards noticed that the loss of their soldiers suddenly increased. Even now, number 18 still didn't find anything wrong, because soon, he could jump and kill into the group of hateful humans. He had even thought about it. He would rush up and grab a human warrior, then hold him with his left hand and slowly absorb the vitality in his body. After that, he would keep doing this, using the screams of this human warrior to compose the music for his slaughter. He wanted these human races who angered him to experience the killing music he played for them in the shrill wails. Seeing that number 18 was about to rush into the human race, number 19 behind him was very anxious, but now number 18 ignored him at all. Whether it was his shouting or the communication of consciousness, he did not get a single response from number 18. At this time, he felt number 17 calling him, and hurriedly looked back, only to see that their fighter planes were flying towards him quickly. Obviously, number 17 also found something wrong, so he simply drove a fighter plane to pick him up with number 18. However, number 19 felt that he was still a little distance away from the battlefield, and his army was still entangled with the human race, so the human race could not use long-range weapons. Then his own safety should not be a problem for the time being. Let number 17 go and pick up number 18 first, so as to prevent this impulsive guy from falling here. After receiving the information from No 19's consciousness, number 17 also thought that this was the best. At least number 19 would not go crazy like number 18. If he saw that things were not going well, even if he ran away, there would definitely be no big problem. What's more, number 19 has not yet entered the city wall. Because of his arrival, number 19 has stopped. As long as he takes number 18 away, number 19 will definitely not stay here. Thinking of this, number 17 drove the fighter plane, lowered the altitude, and dived towards the location of number 18. Although the human race has powerful weapons and he may be attacked in the air, number 17 has enough confidence in the fuselage of the small fighter plane. Although the small fighter plane is much smaller than the spaceship destroyed by Wang Fen before, they are all aircraft after all. Although their bodies are also composed of life energy like the Devourer, the defense of the fighter plane is much stronger than that of the Devourer. I think back then, when Wang Fen wanted to break open the hull of the spaceship and dig out its core of consciousness, he needed to use Apocalypse. Therefore, number 17 did not need to be afraid of the long-range firepower of the Terrans at all. Of course, that kind of missile should be able to destroy this fighter plane, but at such a close place, number 17 did not believe that the Terrans would launch such a large-scale weapon. However, what number 17 didn't know was that right now, in the chaotic battlefield on the ground, there were countless pairs of eyes staring at him, waiting for someone's order. Li Yingning, at this time, slowly moved behind number 18, and then looked at number 19, who was watching in the distance. Just as the fighter plane flew over the crowd, number 17 was communicating with number 18 with his consciousness, asking him to get up and jump onto the fighter plane. A sword with a length of 3 meters suddenly appeared from the air and struck heavily. It hit the fuselage of the fighter plane. Chiang. The sound of gold and iron clashing sounded. Lu Feng's body swayed slightly, his face was a little pale, and he looked at the fighter plane in surprise. The metal he was carrying just now turned into powder and floated in front of the fighter plane's flight path. After it approached, Lu Feng condensed all the metal into a sword, and then slashed hard at the fuselage of the fighter plane. This time, Lu Feng could be considered as attacking with all his strength, without any reservation. However, his sword only cut a hole less than half a foot deep on the fuselage of the fighter plane, and then embedded it in the fuselage. This was Lu Feng's full blow, but it could only cause so little damage. How rigid is its body? Fortunately, Lu Feng's attack only sent a signal to the Guardian Legion soldiers underground. When the sword just appeared and there were no cleavage fighters, countless fire-type supernatural powers appeared on the ground. Those defense-type warriors, regardless of whether they were useful or not, just desperately fired the bullets in their rifles towards fighters poured in. A large number of brilliant flames instantly engulfed the fighter plane, like fireworks in the sky. Even at noon when the sun was shining brightly, it still looked dazzling. In an instant, the temperature around the fighter jet suddenly increased. Even the hair on the survivors on the ground was roasted and bent, giving off a burnt smell. Fortunately, these people have at least reached the level of 5-level creatures or above. An ordinary person would probably faint from the impact of this heat wave. At this time, Li Yingning gave the order to take action against San Xiao, and at the same time, she attacked number 18. No 18's attention at this time was all attracted by the strange sight in the sky, and he instinctively felt that something was not good. Number 18 knew that the person inside the fighter plane was number 17, because number 17 was connecting through consciousness just now, asking him to jump on the fighter plane. Originally, he had no intention of paying attention to it, but he had already rushed in. At least he wanted to kill a large number of human beings, and then let go of the evil spirit in his heart. You can't just run over here in a rage, then run back in despair without killing anyone, right? That's too shameless. Until he saw the fighter plane being attacked just now, he didn't think that the humans in front of him, who were no different from ants in his eyes, could cause any harm to him. But after seeing the scene in the sky, number 18 was frightened. Fortunately, This kind of attack was launched against the fighter plane. If their target was themselves, even serious injury would be considered a luxury. Such a huge amount of fire life energy can definitely turn his body, as well as the core of his consciousness, into ashes. Therefore, at this moment, number 18 was afraid. An uncontrollable sense of fear was rising uncontrollably from the core of his consciousness. Looking at the fighter planes in the sky, number 18 knew that number 17 was in danger. At least, the fighter plane could not be saved. Even if number 17 was protected by the fighter planes, he was still fine. But when he fell into this group of humans, he definitely couldn't escape. Although number 17 came to save him, number 18 had no intention of staying here and fighting alongside him. Now he feels that his life has been threatened, so he complies with the escape regulations stated by the brood. But just when number 18 was about to give up number 17 and turn around to escape from this terrifying place, a figure suddenly bounced up from in front of him and crashed into him quickly. Number 18 didn't even have a chance to dodge, and was directdirectly knocked away by the figure. However, the figure also flew up with him. At the same time, the figure's right hand quickly grabbed No 18's eyebrows. This location happens to be where the core of consciousness of brood guard number 18 is, and it is also his only weakness. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 667. Prince. When Li Yingning attacked, the energy fluctuations on his body could no longer be concealed, and number 18 immediately felt it. He was shocked and regretted it in his heart. If he had known that the missing prince was here, he would never have brought so few people to attack here. At the beginning, if I had listened to number 7. This was the only thought in No 18's mind at the moment. When Li Yingning grabbed his eyebrows, number 18 dodged and transferred his consciousness core at the same time. This was completely a subconscious action of the devourer. It's like you suddenly slap a person's face with your hand. As long as that person is still awake, he will definitely dodge subconsciously and use his hand to cover it, regardless of whether it is in time or not. But when transferring his consciousness core downward, number 18 suddenly realized that this trick worked when dealing with other creatures, but in front of the prince. The other party can clearly feel the location of his consciousness core, and hiding anywhere will have no effect. On the contrary, because of the mobilization of the consciousness core, his body reaction will slow down. It's not No 18's fault. After all, this series of events happened too suddenly, and he couldn't react at all. Just when No 18's consciousness core was about to pass through his neck and enter his chest, Li Yingning's other hand passed over No 18's neck like lightning. Puff. No 18's consciousness core, along with his head with half of his neck, were all caught in Li Yingning's hands. Then, Li Yingning didn't stop, and directly threw No 18's head to a person who was far away. That person was naturally number 7. His level was not enough. Even if he restrained the life fluctuations of his body, other devourers could still easily find him. Therefore, number 7 didn't dare to approach the battlefield in this war, let alone take action. Now that even Li Yingning was exposed, he naturally didn't need to hide anymore, so he ran towards the battlefield. Li Yingning happened to catch No 18's consciousness core. When he saw number 7 coming, he threw the consciousness core to number 7. Number 7 was overjoyed, although he could not become a nest guard by devouring the consciousness core of the nest guard. Because the nest guard only has the nest itself, and it takes thousands of years to breed, and it cannot reach this level by devouring. But absorbing the consciousness core of the nest guard can greatly improve his strength. Number 18, who was thrown to number 7, was naturally not dead yet. When he found that the one who caught him was a devourer, he was overjoyed, thinking that Li Yingning had seen the wrong person and actually threw his head to his soldiers. However, number 18 soon found that he could not sense the existence of the nest mark in number 7's body, and then he realized that this guy was a devourer, but he was not one of his own. Number 18, who knew his consciousness core well and could bring benefits to his kind, did not even beg for mercy, and directly closed his eyes and waited for death. He now only had a head left, and most of the energy in his body had been lost. He had no ability to resist at all, and could only wait for number 7 to absorb his consciousness core. However, his eyes just closed and opened again immediately, because in his consciousness connection, he clearly sensed that the life node of number 19 suddenly disappeared. This can only mean one thing, that is No 19, a powerful nest guard with the same strength as himself, has completely fallen at this time, and even the core of consciousness has been completely destroyed. How is this possible? Number 19 should be the most likely to survive among the three of them. Isn't he at the outermost edge? How did he become the first to die? The nest guards and the nests have life nodes between each other. Once this life node disappears, it means that the other party has completely fallen. In other words, no matter how far apart they are, as long as one of them dies, all the nest guards and nests will know immediately. Number 19 was not killed by Li Yingning. Although he did not stop his fight, after throwing away No 18's head, Li Yingning flew directly to the small fighter plane that could no longer maintain flight and fell to the ground. The one who killed number 19 was, of course, the three little ones, Shalumi, and when No 17's fighter plane was suddenly attacked, number 19 was naturally shocked. Since he was at the outermost edge, he immediately retreated without hesitation when he saw that the human in front of him had such a powerful means of attack. However, Shalumi, who had been lurking beside him for a long time, suddenly jumped up at this time, and 3 daggers pierced his neck almost at the same time. Due to the lurking ability of the 3 little ones, number 19 did not notice that there were 3 people around him, so he did not even have the opportunity to react. The 3 little ones knew that the consciousness core of number 19 was also in the center of the eyebrows, but they did not attack there because they were not sure. After the 3 daggers pierced in, they rotated in one direction at the same time and directly cut off No 19's head. Then, Wang Mi jumped high and kicked No 19's head away with a strong kick. In the direction where the head flew, a figure carrying a long sword stood up directly and faced No 19's head. Then, he drew out the long sword on his back, and in a sound like a dragon's roar, he drew the sword, stabbing number 19 in the head. This person was of course Qiu Jian. The moment he stabbed the sword into No 19's head, he directly activated his destructive and devouring powers. As a result, the head that was pierced by the long sword turned into nothingness in less than 2 breaths, without any trace left. Because the core of No 19's consciousness is now in this head, number 19 has completely fallen here with the disappearance of the head. Then, Qiu Jian glanced at San Xiao again. That was the body of the brood guard. It contained a huge and pure life energy. Of course, Qiu Jian would not let it go. At this time, the burning fireball in the sky had also fallen to the ground, and a very embarrassed figure ejected from it, flying towards the distance. This is number 17. He also already knows that number 19 has died, and the fate of number 18, although he did not see it because his vision was blocked by the firepower. However, now that even the outermost number 19 has fallen, the ending of number 18 can of course be imagined. How could Li Yingning let him go? The figure suddenly accelerated and blocked number 17 directly. At this time, the third child came to Li Yingning's side and surrounded number 17. Qiu Jian also walked towards the side with his long sword. The body of number 19 was hanging on his long sword and was shrinking. Prince. Long time no see. Number 17 looked around and knew that he had no way out, so he smiled bitterly and said to Li Yingning. Yes. Number 17, long time no see. Li Yingning nodded, with a flash of emotion in his eyes. The appearance of the brood guards on the 17th reminded Li Yingning of her days in the brood. Of course, those days were definitely not good for Li Yingning, so Li Yingning didn't have a good impression of these brood guards. Number 17 obviously knew this. He looked around and found that the Devourer army was completely exhausted. These were all cultivated by you on this planet? It seems that you ended up here after you disappeared, right? Number 17 looked at Li Yingning and asked. Li Yingning nodded first, then shook her head and said. I came here directly, but these people were not trained by me. Their leader, the person who trained these humans, is not here. He is out on business. After hearing Li Yingning's words, number 17 couldn't help but widen his eyes. Their entire army was wiped out, and not even the 3 brood guards were able to escape. The base in front of them actually did it without their leader? At this time, Lu Feng and the others also gathered around them. Naturally, other people would take charge of cleaning up the battlefield. Seeing the expression on number 17, Lu Feng and others couldn't help but froze on the spot. Yes. In this war, they directly defeated their enemies without Wang Feng, and even wiped out their entire army. This seemed to be the first time in the minds of everyone at Hope Base that Wang Feng was not present during a battle that could change the fate of Hope Base. Ha ha ha. It looks like we are quite powerful now, right? Tang Haoshenhao laughed. Come on. There is no madman. You are still an awakened person. Can you beat these perverted guys? Gui Weivu spared no effort to attack Tang Haoshen. That's not what I meant. What I meant was that in the past, we had to have a lunatic around to unleash our strongest combat power. Tang Haoshen shook his head and said. And now, even if the madman is not here, we can still break out. That's because the madman has changed our minds and turned his ideals into ours. Lu Feng looked up at the sky and sighed softly. Ahem. Let me tell you. We still have guests here, right? Luo Kaying reminded softly from the side. For it. The guys just remembered that now was not the time to sigh, and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed on their faces, so they all closed their mouths and looked at number 17, who was surrounded in the field. At this time, number 7 also came over holding No 18's head. When he saw number 18, number 17 smiled bitterly again. Haha. We lost 3 brood guards at once. This is an unprecedented loss since the birth of Devourer. Then number 17 raised his head to the sky, as if he wanted to see where the mother nest was. And I have a hunch that maybe this time, the losses will be more than that. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 668. After hearing the words of number 17, Li Yingning turned around and looked at the people at the Hope Base. He also felt that it was indeed a bit magical. With these guys who were only at the 7th level, they actually killed millions of predators and tens of thousands of elites. And an army of devourers with thousands of commanders. Especially this army also includes 3 brood guards. Although number 17 was right. This was the first time since Devourer was born that he had lost so many brood guards. In the past, the Devourer may have lost more than 1 million soldiers, but in Li Yingning's memory, the brood guard had never lost more than 2 soldiers at the same time in the same war. Although only number 19 is truly dead now, it is obvious that number 18 and number 17 are basically impossible to escape. How many brood guards came in total this time? Li Yingning looked at number 17 and asked. 10. 7 and 11 to 19. Number 17 said calmly, there was nothing to hide, so he simply said it directly. 10. All came through the wormhole. Li Yingning was surprised. That's right. Number 17 nodded and suddenly laughed. Prince, I don't know now. I should say whether you are lucky or bad. You are said to be unlucky, right? You just got the life core that even the brood is eager for, and you got rid of the control of the brood. But you are lucky. Where do you think you escaped to? You escaped to this planet where the brood is bound to be destroyed. I think just because 10 of us are willing to go through the wormhole to get here from the mother nest, you should know the importance of this planet in the eyes of the mother nest. So, you still can't escape the pursuit of the brood in the end. At the end, number 17 looked at Li Yingning and shook his head with some pity. However, Li Yingning was unmoved. After living with humans for so long, Li Yingning's mind had already become extremely tough. Trying to use words to attack him was just a dream. While you have time to sympathize with me, you'd better think about what to do with yourself first. Do you just think that you still have a chance to escape from here today? Looking at number 17, Li Yingning said calmly. I know you are stalling for time, because the other brood guards already know about his death. But you have no chance. I have been to Nanzhou continent. Since you said that a total of 10 brood guards came, then I can roughly imagine your distribution. This planet has 4 continents, among which there are no living creatures in the southern continent, so you will use that as your base camp. Then for other continents, 3 will go to each continent, and the remaining 1 will stay in Nanzhou. Right. It's just that I'm a little surprised. You have so many troops here? 1 million people died here alone. And it is impossible for the brood's nest to transfer all its troops to you. At least 1/3 will be left for itself. In other words, you will only have 1 million troops at most. Now that all these devourers are here, as for the other 2 continents, can you just rely on the commander and the brood guard to be able to? No. Could it be? Having said this, Li Yingning looked at number 17. You don't have to lie to me. I can tell you directly. Number 17 suddenly laughed. Actually, we came to this planet through the wormhole this time, a total of 6 million, but because those idiots evaluated your place as the worst, we only brought 1 million here. If we had not launched such an attack today, but had dragged it out slowly, within 10 days or so, the human race on those 2 continents would have been extinct. Haha. 6 million. 10 brood guards. It sounds like this is good news. What number 17 didn't expect was that after hearing his words, Li Yingning actually laughed. Aren't you worried? Number 17 asked with some confusion. 6 million troops and 10 brood guards, do you think you can survive it? I'm worried you won't come. Li Yingning is still smiling. What's more, there are only 5 million troops and 7 brood guards now. Besides, killing you now will be equivalent to weakening the brood. It's better than doing it all together then, right? Hearing Li Yingning's words, number 17 couldn't help but think of his own situation. He now knew that delaying time would probably not save him. Therefore, number 17 looked at Li Yingning, smiled bitterly and said, Prince, come on. You won't let me go anyway, so let's end this as soon as possible. Yeah. Okay. Then, goodbye. Li Yingning nodded, then showed his stick. In the previous battle, Li Yingning did not use his stick because he was among the crowd at that time and it was difficult to use the long stick. Now, all the other devourers have been killed, and only number 17 is still capable of fighting. Of course, Li Yingning will take action with all his strength. After all, the strength of the brood guard is actually better than that of Li Yingning, but after living on this planet for a long time, Li Yingning has accumulated a lot of combat experience. Although the nest guards occasionally enter the planet, they mostly command the army and rarely participate in the battle themselves. If the fight with the Hope base was not too frustrating this time, they would not have taken action, and the only one who really wanted to take action was number 18. It can be said that number 17 and number 19 were both tricked by number 18, the pig teammate. So although the nest guards have reached the level of a 9th level creature, their combat experience is. It is precisely because of this that number 18 did not even walk past Li Yingning, and number 19 was directly killed by the joint efforts of Sang Xiao and Qiu Jian. Seeing that Li Yingning seemed to be ready to deal with him alone, No 17's eyes flashed, as if he thought of something. Then, he turned his head and looked at the people in the Hope base who surrounded him, and then looked back at Li Yingning. "Come on." Li Yingning no longer hesitated, and jumped forward directly, and the long stick in his hand hit No 17's left hand without any fancy. It must be said that No 17's combat experience is quite good among the nest guards. At least, his move of transferring his consciousness core from his head to his left hand is absolutely smart. Because he knows that no matter where he hides his consciousness core, he can't hide it from Li Yingning, so it's better to put it in the most flexible hand than to hide it in the body. At least, it's easier to dodge. Although in this way, he will be cautious when using his left hand to attack, but generally speaking, this is still a smart move. Even Li Yingning's eyes flashed a trace of approval, but the long stick in his hand did not slow down because of his appreciation for number 17. Seeing Li Yingning's long stick coming, number 17 narrowed his eyes, and then before the long stick arrived, he dodged it directly with his body to the side. And then, No 17's action was surprising. He did not continue to stay in place and fight with Li Yingning, but directly flashed and rushed towards Lu Wanting, who was watching the battle in the crowd. No 17's eyes were very sharp. Among the core figures of the Hope base, he could tell at a glance that Lu Wanting seemed to be an important figure. Because although Lu Wanting also participated in the battle, the Mars trio stayed near her to protect her. Even though the battle was over now, the Mars trio still protected Lu Wanting in the center in a triangle. Because it was Duan Lei's order to let them protect Lu Wanting. Although the battle was over now, Duan Lei's order had not been cancelled. Therefore, the current mission of the Mars trio was still to protect Lu Wanting. Unexpectedly, it was this point that made number 17 see that Lu Wanting should be an important figure in the Hope base. Even Li Yingning did not expect this change. In a hurry, he swept a stick towards No 17's back. Puff, the long stick hit No 17's back. The swallowing power attached to the stick immediately made a transparent hole in No 17's back, and all the life energy around was swallowed by the long stick. However, number 17 ignored Li Yingning's attack. Although his speed was affected a little, he still rushed towards Lu Wanting. Since they wanted to surround number 17, Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan and others were scattered around and had no time to rescue him. Lu Wanting was surrounded by only the Mars trio. Although these three guys had strong fighting talents and cooperated well with each other, they had just entered the early stage of level 7 after all. Now facing the mother nest guards who had reached level 9, it was definitely dangerous. However, no one in the Mars trio retreated, but instead went straight up to try to stop number 17. The one rushing in the front was Mars, because among the three, only Mars was of wind attribute, so he was the fastest, and the other two were of fire attribute, which was also suitable for attacking the Devourer. So, among the current Mars trio, Mars was the meat shield. Seeing that 3 level 7 humans dared to stop him, number 17 was furious and stretched out his right hand to slap Mars. Huaxing was quite clear about the consequences of being hit by his palm, but he had no intention of dodging, but went forward. Because he knew that behind him was Lu Wanting. If he gave way, Lu Wanting would have an accident, and he would not forgive himself even if he died 10,000 times. While preparing to use his body to block number 17, the long knife in Huaxing's hand went far away and chopped directly at No 17's left hand. Although Li Yingning didn't say it, Huaxing was always smart. From Li Yingning's attack on number 17, he knew that this guy had hidden his consciousness core in his left hand. So, now Huaxing was willing to let him absorb his vitality, even if he would die, he had to chop off this guy's hand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 669. How Shui and Li Fei have been cooperating with Mars for a long time. Although the three of them always hurt each other when they met, they trusted each other very much during the battle. Now seeing that Mars was attacking No 17's left hand, although they didn't understand, they both released their fire abilities to the maximum at the same time and attacked No 17's left hand. However, it was just a hand, not the body, so number 17 just gently put his left hand behind his back to avoid the attacks of the three. At this time, his right hand was about to press on Mars' left chest. Li Yingning's face changed drastically. He knew that as a mother nest guard, it only took a short moment to drain all the vitality in Mars' body. In other words, as long as No 17's hand was pressed on Mars' chest, Mars would be dead. But now he had no time to remind Mars, and looking at the look in Mars' eyes, Mars would not dodge even if he reminded him. No one knows Wang Feng's position in the hearts of the people in the Hope Base better than Li Yingning. He knows that if they let Lu Wanting get into an accident when Wang Feng left, they may not have the face to see Wang Feng again. Just when No 17's palm was about to touch Mars' body, Mars was suddenly kicked away and flew to the right. Then, Lu Wanting appeared in front of number 17, and cut off his right arm with a knife. Just now, when the Mars trio did not hesitate to block number 17 in front of her, Lu Wanting suddenly thought of Chen Shaoan. This boy who respected her very much at the beginning and was dismembered by zombies because he wanted to save her, now overlapped with Mars's equally thin back. At this moment, Lu Wanting suddenly felt her blood boiling, and an inexplicable emotion surged in her heart. At this moment, she seemed to be back in the Green Island camp. At that time, every time she fought zombies, she rushed to the front, guarding the other people in the camp with Chen Tianhao and Zhao Taihan. After coming to the Hope Base, she didn't seem to participate in the battle much, because of her relationship with Wang Feng, and she was willing to help Wang Feng do some things that Wang Feng himself was not good at and didn't like to do. Therefore, everyone in the Hope Base seemed to regard her as a weak woman who must be protected. Even Chen Tianhao seemed to have forgotten that Lu Wanting was the captain of the Green Island camp. Therefore, when the Mars trio rushed in front of her, Lu Wanting did not retreat, but rushed up with them. It was because she followed Mars closely, closer to Mars than Li Fei and Hao Shui, that she was able to kick Mars away at the most critical moment. Moreover, Lu Wanting's combat experience was actually very rich. While kicking Mars away, Lu Wanting had already swung the long knife in her hand and slashed in front of her. Because Mars blocked his view, number 17 did not find Lu Wanting. When Mars' body suddenly moved away and Lu Wanting appeared in front of him, number 17 had no time to dodge. When his palm was about to touch Lu Wanting, a muffled sound came and No 17's right arm was directly cut off. However, when number 17 found that the person in front of him was Lu Wanting, he was not surprised but happy. He slapped Lu Wanting with his left hand behind his back. At this time, Mars' body had already flown to the right, and there was no time to stop number 17. Hao Shui, who was also on his right, kicked Mars back without saying a word. Mars also turned around and cut off No 17's left hand that was attacking Lu Wanting at the wrist without hesitation. At the moment when Mars' knife fell, No 17's left foot also quickly flew upwards. At the moment when Mars just cut off his left hand, he kicked his left hand directly to Lu Wanting's face. Puff. After number 17 kicked up his left hand, his foot was cut off by the still falling steel knife of Mars. Lu Wanting quickly stepped back, raised the steel knife in her hand, and directly cut the broken hand of number 17 that was smashed towards her face into two. Although she didn't know whether the devourer could use a broken hand to absorb her vitality, she knew that number 17 must have his purpose in doing so. Whatever the enemy wanted to do, it would definitely be disadvantageous to him, not to mention that number 17 even put his foot under the blade of Mars to do this. Just when everyone thought that number 17 should have no attack power, a creature that looked a bit like an octopus suddenly jumped out of the left hand that was cut into two by Lu Wanting. This creature rushed out of No 17's left hand just after Lu Wanting split it in two, and continued to pounce on Lu Wanting's pretty face. At this time, Lu Wanting's knife was outside, and the hand was originally flying towards her face, so she didn't have time to dodge. This series of actions was so fast that the changes in the middle were like lightning and it was almost impossible to see clearly. However, when Li Yingning saw the monster that jumped out of No 17's hand, his face suddenly became quite ugly, and he exclaimed, "Consciousness assault." Consciousness assault is a suicidal attack that only the nest guard can launch among the devourers, and even Li Yingning can't do it. The creature that looks like an octopus is actually the consciousness core of the nest guard. This is the biggest secret of the nest guard. Their consciousness core is completely different from that of other devourers. At least, the consciousness core of other devourers cannot leave their bodies at all and can only be transferred inside the body. And the consciousness core of the nest guard can even leave the body provided by the nest and survive alone in the outside world. In fact, they are already equivalent to a truly complete creature. The octopus is not only their consciousness core, but also the main body of the nest guard. And their human-shaped body is actually like a layer of armor to protect his main body. If the mother nest is willing to use its own body to enter this planet in the future, then the people present will find that the mother nest's body is almost exactly the same as this octopus-like creature. It's just that the mother nest's body is countless times larger, and the reason why the mother nest breeds a mother nest guard for 1,000 years is actually breeding the body of the mother nest guard. Strictly speaking, the mother nest guard should be considered as the offspring of the mother nest, but their number is limited by the creator of the mother nest. And these mother nest guards will never grow to the size of the mother nest, so they will never become the mother nest. Only the prince can become the mother nest, and he must obtain a legacy from the mother nest after the death of the mother nest to succeed. And now No 17's behavior is to launch a consciousness raid, which is actually a kind of possession. If No 17's body, that is, the octopus, successfully lands on Lu Wanting's head, he will instantly get into Lu Wanting's head from Lu Wanting's mouth, nostrils, or even eyes. At that time, Lu Wanting's own consciousness will be swallowed by number 17, and Lu Wanting's body will be completely controlled by number 17. This is why number 17 wanted to transfer his consciousness core to his left hand, because at the beginning, he had looked around at the people in the Hope base around him. After confirming Lu Wanting's identity, he had already prepared this plan, but what number 17 didn't expect was that although Lu Wanting was a girl, she was protected by 3 people in the middle. But Lu Wanting was not as easy to deal with as he imagined, and the perfect cooperation between Mars and Hao Shui just now completely disrupted his plan. Originally, No 17's plan was perfect. As long as his left hand could touch Lu Wanting's body, his consciousness core, that is, the body, could instantly enter Lu Wanting's body, swallow her consciousness, and completely occupy Lu Wanting's body. Because Lu Wanting is a human, her body structure is completely different from that of the devourer. At that time, even Li Yingning will not be able to find him hiding in Lu Wanting's body. At that time, he can live in the Hope base as Lu Wanting and wait for the arrival of the mother nest. But Mars's knife, coupled with Lu Wanting's knife later, forced him to expose his true body and use his true body to directly seize the body. Number 17 knew that Li Yingning would definitely see all this, and even if he succeeded, there was no way to hide his identity. But now, number 17 is already riding a tiger and it is difficult to get off. At least after this fight, he still has a chance. If the true body still remains in his palm, he will definitely fall. However, the performance of the Mars trio just now also made number 17 more convinced that Lu Wanting's identity is definitely extraordinary. Therefore, number 17 has every reason to believe that even if he occupies Lu Wanting's body, and Li Yingning and others also understand that the real Lu Wanting is dead and it is him who controls her body, these human beings should not be able to kill him. At that time, his chance came, so number 17 still pounced on Lu Wanting swiftly, and Lu Wanting's beautiful and angry face was already in front of him. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 670. Everyone present was stunned, and the Mars trio all desperately rushed towards Lu Wanting, trying to stop the strange octopus from rushing towards Lu Wanting. However, even Lu Wanting didn't have time to dodge, and there was no hope for them at that distance. Meow. Just when everyone was desperate and thought that Lu Wanting could not escape the catastrophe this time and was destined to die, a slightly shrill cat cry sounded. Then, a white shadow swiftly rushed out from behind Lu Wanting, opened its mouth, and directly rushed to the body of number 17 who was about to touch Lu Wanting. Everyone looked over and found that this white shadow was Wang Feng's little kitten, Rura. Rura, this little kitten, no. Now it has grown up and can be regarded as an adult cat. And because of the good food, basically there is nothing it can't eat in the Hope Base. So now this little kitten, which was only the size of a palm when it was found by Wang Feng, has become an adult cat with a length of almost half a meter. Although Wang Feng often went out after establishing the Hope Base and had little contact with Rura, the little kitten, Wang Feng was still the first creature Rura saw after opening his eyes. So Rura was still very attached to Wang Feng, and seemed very close to him every time he saw him. For some unknown reason, Rura, who had always been with Shen Yishan's daughter Niuniu, suddenly appeared behind Lu Wanting. And he rushed out the original body of number 17 like a divine soldier, resolving Lu Wanting's crisis this time. Seeing the situation in front of them, everyone in the Hope Base finally breathed a sigh of relief, but the Mars trio still ran to Lu Wanting and separated her from Rura, who was biting No 17's original body, to avoid another accident. Li Yingning also came to Rura at this time, stretched out his hand to stop others from trying to attack No 17's body, frowned, and looked down at Rura. Rura was throwing No 17's body to the ground at this time, holding it down with his front paws, and biting it with his mouth. Lu Feng and others were also watching this scene. The body of the mother nest guard looked a little strange, less than the size of a palm. The appearance now seemed to be closer to the shape of a jellyfish, a mushroom-shaped body, and the bottom was full of slender tentacles. The number of tentacles was quite large. There were tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of tentacles on No 17's small body. This made No 17's body look a bit like a miniature human head, and the dense tentacles were naturally hair. However, now those tentacles were desperately swinging because of No 17's struggle, which looked a bit disgusting. At this time, Rura's mouth had been pierced by No 17's tentacles, leaving many wounds. Although the mutant beast's defense was strong, the inside of its mouth must be relatively weak. Drops of blood dripped from Rura's mouth, which also stimulated Rura's ferocity as an animal. Awoo! Rura let out an indistinct roar, and then moved more violently. In a fierce bite, No 17's body seemed to have suffered a fatal blow and suddenly became silent. Li Yingning nodded. As a devourer, and a prince among devourers, Li Yingning clearly felt that number 17 was really dead. Rura seemed to know that his prey had been bitten to death by him, so he raised his head and looked at the people around him, opened his mouth and called out, as if showing off his achievements. Then, Rura lowered his head and picked up the dead number 17 body, like a kitten that had just caught a mouse, and trotted out of the crowd, as if he wanted to find a quiet place to enjoy his prey. Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan, and others stared blankly at the kitten running farther and farther, and then looked at each other, looking at each other, with unnatural expressions on their faces. Almost right under everyone's eyes, the nest guard who killed Lu Wanting, the devourer number 17, whose strength was second only to the nest, was killed by a cat. And the cat obviously regarded number 17 as its prey, and took it away directly, ready to find a place to taste it. Please. That is the devourer, the alien invader who is about to destroy the West Continent and the North Continent. It is the most powerful enemy of mankind at present, not the mouse, okay. Is this over? Luo Kaying asked in a daze. Ha ha. Damn. It's really over. Why do I feel that we should raise more cats in our base? Tang Haoshan also smiled bitterly. In fact, there are indeed quite a few animals in the Hope Base. In addition to the meat that just appeared, the Hope Base also has several mutant elephants, a nest of bees, a large group of mice, and a willow tree. There was originally a whale, a great white shark and a pine tree, but in this attack by the Devourer, they have already. When the Devourer army came, Li Yingning had told Duanlei not to let the mutant beasts fight. Because he knew the Devourer, he hoped that the mutant beasts in the base would not be of much use in dealing with the Devourer. Whether it was the mutant rat group with the Rat King standing in a row or the beehive, they were too small to hurt the Devourer at all. As for Apollo's elephants, if they rush into the Devourer army, they may be able to disrupt the formation of the Devourer army, but those elephants will definitely not be able to come back. So this time, Duanlei took back all the mutant beasts, and asked Apollo and Lin Li to keep a close eye on their mutant beasts and not leave the clear water garden. Rura had been playing with Niu Niu, so Duanlei didn't pay attention to it. Unexpectedly, the kitten sneaked to the front line and suddenly appeared at the critical moment to save Lu Wanting. Li Yingning was also looking at the direction Rura was leaving at this time, her brows furrowed, as if she was thinking about something. Duanlei also appeared at this time. Now the Devourer army has been destroyed. Moreover, he also heard the entire conversation between Li Yingning and number 47 through the walkie-talkie. Now that all the Devourers on the Dongzhou continent have been wiped out, he no longer needs to stay in the clear water garden, ready to mobilize troops at any time and stabilize the emotions of the survivors who remain at the headquarters. So just after the battle, Duanlei handed over the management of the headquarters to Shen Yishan and drove to the battlefield. Instructor. Rura, there won't be any problems, right? Duanlei walked up to Li Yingning and asked. Li Yingning slowly shook her head and said uncertainly. I don't know either. I only know that if the body of number 17 had just jumped into Tingting's face, then the current Tingting would become no 17. Lu Wanting and everyone were stunned and looked up at Li Yingning. Number 17 just wanted to use his own body to seize control of Tingting's body. If he succeeds, then Tingting's consciousness will be swallowed by him, which is equivalent to complete death. Li Yingning opened her mouth and explained. However, Tingting's body will not die, but will be controlled by number 17. In other words, Tingting is still alive in our eyes. But her thoughts and consciousness belong to number 17, huh? It's a bit similar to the body grabbing in those novels before the end of the world. Holy shit. Seize the body. Li Fei shouted. Isn't that from fantasy novels? Isn't ours a post-apocalyptic novel? There will be something like this too. That's why he didn't succeed. You pig. Mars immediately began to attack Li Fei. Now that the crisis has passed, the Mars trio finally began to fight each other again. Shut up. Duanlei said angrily, and the Martian trio shut up immediately. After all, they had just made a mistake. If it weren't for Rura, Lu Wanting might really be possessed by number 17 as Li Yingning said. If that situation occurs, it will be really troublesome. Kill number 17? I guess no one can do it. Even if they knew that the real Lu Wanting was dead at that time, the current one is the devourer number 17 who is like an octopus or a jellyfish in her body. But after all, she still looks like Lu Wanting. Who would be cruel enough to kill her? Instead of killing? Leaving a devourer in Hope Base is no different from seeking death. And the biggest question Duanlei is concerned about now is that since the devourer can occupy and control Lu Wanting's body, what about Rura? Looking at Li Yingning, Duanlei asked the question he was concerned about. Instructor, will Rura be in the situation you just mentioned? Although Rura is just a cat, this cat can enter and leave any corner of the Hope Base at will. If Rura will be controlled by number 17, it will also be a big trouble for Hope Base. It doesn't even need to convey any information at all. As long as it hides in the dark and assassinates a few important figures in the Hope base, Duan Lei can't stand it. And Duan Lei now has a bigger worry, that is, if number 17 was acting just now, he had actually controlled Rura, but pretended to be killed by Rura. When they thought this incident was over, number 17 would shift the target of their control and become another important figure in the Hope base. That would be the biggest crisis for the Hope base. Li Yingning shook her head and said, "It shouldn't be possible, because the most important thing about the Brood Guard is his body. His body was dead just now. I can confirm this. So, what almost happened to Ting Ting probably won't happen to this cat, but..."